Wyoming.
Whoa.
I just have to sit down here. Maybe I don't have to be here. I didn't know.
And I just sat next to you, so there wasn't space.
Mhm.
But no, we're a team, so I think it'll be great.
Yeah, I'm Jackie. It's going to be the committee chair. And I haven't heard from Jackie. Have you?
Not today or anything, so. How long do they have these positions? Is it per term or?
It's supposed to be like 2 years.
Okay. Just curious. It's not a problem or anything. So.
Okay, so we're gonna get started. So, we say we're at 6:15 p.m.
Hello, my name is Danny Brooks. I'm calling this meeting to order at 6:15 p.m.
We're gonna read our pledge of allegiance to the flag.
Okay, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Can stand if you can. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll skip the mission statement because we don't have one currently. Is that correct? Okay, so we'll get that done.
And, like I said, moving on to roll call.
Moving on to roll call.
Okay, committee member Hinojosa,
Here?
committee member Brooks,
Present.
committee member Jackson, committee member Manley,
Here.
committee member Fuente. You have it.
Currently, is there any citizen participation right now? Okay. We are going to go to item 6A through D. At this time, we need to discuss committee chair. I would like to nominate myself, if possible.
I second that.
Okay.
I'd like to nominate Julie for vice president.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
No, wait, 1 second. So what happens is you're, make a motion to nominate yourself to be committee chair, someone will second, and then I call, roll again.
Okay. I'm gonna start over. A motion to nominate myself for committee chair, Danny Brooks.
And,
I second.
okay. So there has been a motion that Danny Brooks be appointed as committee chair, seconded by Naomi. Committee member Hinojosa.
Aye.
Committee member Brooks.
Aye.
Committee member Manley.
Aye.
Motion passes. Now moving on to 6B, discussion of possible action on vice chair.
I'd
So,
like to nominate Ms.
Juliana Hosa.
Julian Hosta.
Hannah Hosa.
Mrs. Hosta.
I second.
There's been a motion made for Julie Hinojosa to be appointed as Vice Committee Chair. Committee Member Hinojosa.
Aye.
Committee Member Brooks.
Aye.
Committee Member Bama.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Next up for conversation, item 6C, economic development strategies for the city of Kirby.
After discussion, Vice Mayor, Dr. Brian Rowland.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Dr. Brian Rowland. I'm the interim city manager for the city of Kirby. I'd like to welcome and thank you for agreeing to serve this body for economic development. I think it's the first time in a year that we've had a meeting, and so we wanted to kind of not have it too heavy, but enough to be able to have a conversation. This agenda item is nothing specific than allowing us an opportunity to really discuss at a high level economic development strategies for the city of Kirby, your thoughts and kind of what you, if you don't know what it is to serve on this board as an economic development committee member, what are some of those things? So that allows us to be able to have a dialogue with the body. What'll be getting sent to you from the city secretary is some documents in reference to one, how to do the Open Meetings Act and Texas Public Information. So those two things, and she'll send you how to access them. And if you need help, we will be able to help you. All our committees and boards and commissions, they fill it out. So if you filled it out for something before, then we can use that, but it must be current 2025. Outside of that, economic development strategies. So when we talk about economic development for the city, we're a committee, so we're not a board. The difference between the committee is just that we are advisory. This committee creates recommendations that they give to city council through staff. And as far as economic development opportunities or things that you want to see here in the city of Kirby. You all set priorities, goals, and visions on how do you want to see Kirby's business, the businesses in Kirby kind of move up. That comes from this board and commission. From that, I know there was some work done a couple of years ago and on some direction. I don't have any of that information, but we're working to get, I think, some members to kind of come do like just share at your next meeting, some historical context from what this board and commission was doing. And so the strategy, like we've been having conversations with business people locally who are here now, and then people who are looking to come in. And so whether they're looking for a retail space, if they're looking for, is this the right business? Do we have the best business culture or climate for their particular business? So we've met with several people, myself and the mayor, to try to move that. This body was also invited to a conversation that is connected to this, which is the conversation around planning and zoning, and why planning and zoning comprehensive plan is a connection. Because if you zone your community, all these places, if you're a business, it may not match the zoning, and it's a lot harder to get what is called a variance or some other mix or usage if it's already set. And the tool that it's used, it's the planning and zoning process, but the long-term tool, it's called the comprehensive plan. The city of Kirby is currently working through a long-term comprehensive plan, taking the things that the city of Kirby adopted some years ago, and then looking at it 10 years from now to say, do what we see today, does this match? This is what we want to do? So then they'll have community engagement sessions. That body, that board, planning and zonings, received the cursory report that we reported on at their last meeting, which is kind of an overview of whether it is zoning, whether it is median income, demographics, where it is, you know, what are you trying, what needs do the community have, right? And so this is our roadmap. So people would say, hey, where's Kirby going? You should be able to look at any city's comprehensive plan, and you can get a gist of where the city is going or what opportunities exist. And so as far as economic development, we wanted to hear the voice of this committee, but also the voice of the community of like, how do we prioritize economic development? Currently, economic development is not prioritized in any of the plans. And so that's why we feel it's very important that we start having these conversations. But also, I don't know if any of you I hosted a conversation just coming in, economic development town hall. In that economic development town hall, we kind of talked about where things were at, what is going on, but the opportunity for us to, you know, if we want to increase sales tax, which is like, there's only two ways a community can brings in a majority of its money, and that's through property tax or sales tax, which is when you go to a business and you pay your taxes. Now, a portion or percentage of that goes into several revenue sources that we have. Crime prevention and control gets a portion. Streets get a portion, and we also give a portion to VIA. Those are where we allocate that, and then the other 1% kind of goes into the general fund. All right. So, wanting to hear from you all as far as ideas or thoughts for us to take that down and then be able to bring it back to you. We do have some thoughts and ideas. We've been meeting with different people around the community, but also new people who want to bring development. That'll kind of get me into the next agenda item, which is like downtown Kirby, and then how we move. One of the options, I think when I was here 2 years ago that I put before, it didn't necessarily go anywhere, but I would bring back to this body to start thinking about asking, what does it look like to have what is called an economic 4B or economic 4A? You all can look over that. We can get you some additional information. Those are economic development boards and commissions, but those are necessarily, one is industrial and workforce development. One is also, you can use workforce development, but it also is retail development, which is the 4B. The A is industrial and workforce. So those are different. Taxing entities. So let's say, like when people do sales tax, they buy things here in the community. 0.025% could. It doesn't currently. It's zero right now, but it could go into an economic 4A. Economic 4B, or what is called an MDD. So those are some of the economic development tools that cities have available, as far as like, how do you then, when you talk about focusing or centering economic development, when you talk about centering or focusing businesses in your community, these are the tools that already exist. We just have to set up our goals and priorities to show the connectivity. Does that make sense? Anybody have any questions so far?
So far, it makes sense. I think the one for retail would be great for the area. Not that the industrial area wouldn't work, but there's room on the main street for retail. Yeah. So just an idea.
You know, a lot of also going through codifying our code. So when we start talking about what is the economic development strategy, if everyone sees FM 78 as our business corridor, because obviously, you know, driving through the city, the business corridor, what is our overlay? And then what are we going to hold? What is the standard of business that we want to be there? Like, what is like, you know, whether there's high grass, those types of things, right? So then additional departments like public works, it brings in additional department like code enforcement, about like how we're all working together to make sure that our community is kept clean, safe, right? So like all that connectivity, right? So I wanted to throw out a couple things, share with you all as far as like what we're looking to do to then come back of like, okay, You know, we got FM 78, then we got is it Osayin, right? So what are we going to do on that corridor to help increase visibility, increase business opportunities, right? Then there is, you know, what other areas are areas of opportunity that may have available land, since we're landlocked based on Bexar County and San Antonio. And so again, those are just ideas and thoughts that this body can, you know, write down. We'll put together another meeting on the agenda. We can then start to share ideas, share thoughts of like what forward movement looks like. There are some bodies. There's something I belong to for the city. It's called Texas Economic Development Council, TEDC. That is the state body that focuses municipalities on economic development. TEDC, Texas Economic Development Council. And then you have a international body, which is your state, your outside of, so TEDC is Texas, IEDC, which is international, which is for all of the states, right? So now you have state specific stuff, and then you have stuff that's around the United States and international, right? So there are tools and mechanisms. So like when we did the Economic Development Week, that was done by IDEC, which are these regulating or credentialing. These are organizations that give credentialing to professionals in this area, in the field, excuse me. So like you have economic development consultant, you have an economic development executive director, you have all these positions because it is a field. It's not something you just do a whim willy-nilly, right? And so part of the conversation is to share knowledge and information to this body to show why it's important that we center that, but then also mechanisms for us to be able to present this, to share this to city council. Right? We know that our budget year starts October 1, ends September. So July 1, which is tomorrow, we'll be going into the fourth quarter of the year. Our new book.
I'm sorry, October 1st?
Yes. Our new budget year starts October 1st.
Through when?
September 30th.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And we're now just starting our fourth quarter tomorrow. And so we'll have July, August, September, and then we'll start a brand new year, October 1. And so you'll see city council over the next 2 months, kind of the end of July, leading up to September, working through budget conversations and things of that nature, as far as like, you know, how do they prioritize their goals, right? Just like I'm saying to you all, I'm saying to all the boards and commissions and to the body, like, where you put your priorities is where you put your money. And so that's how that connection is how this all connects together. What is the strategy that then you're saying, okay, we're on the ground, we're doing the business work, has how we then present that to city council, and then how does that body says, okay, we want to put these things in our budget, right? So there is also a budget line item, you know, for a little budget line item for economic development. So when y'all start having more meetings, start thinking about things, there's some opportunity to do some things. Like I said, the main thing right now is your feedback and input with planning and zoning, and when we start having conversations around the comprehensive plan. That's going to be the main part. But you all should also be, you know, through this body, letting Ms. Christine know that you want to set up a meeting. And as long as we have 70, right now it's 72 hours advance notice that we then notice to the public, then put on the website. The state law has changed it. So this upcoming is going to go to 3 days. But as long as you have 3-day notice for the public to say, hey, we're going to have a meeting together, then we can notice it. Anybody have any questions?
How often, I'm sorry, you can go first. How often do the other bodies meet? Just so we can kind of create a plan similar to theirs, if that's okay.
Usually about once a month.
Okay.
If you all, because y'all haven't met in a while, y'all want to meet more, we just need to make sure that the building is available. And yeah, you can get with Ms. Christine as far as she can give you some dates or whatever. But usually about once a month. We want our committees meeting about once a month.
That's fine. I got one more question. You, and I was here for that last meeting. I was sitting out here. Do we have an idea when the comprehensive plan will be ready, or are they still kind of the beginning phase?
So we're in the beginning phase. It's not going to be ready until like they hear from everybody, right? So there's the architectural piece, which is why we have just a cursory plan. And then we have like, well, we need to set up like some town halls. They're going to set up doing all these other things, which again, right now the city's only paid for the first part of it, and we're waiting to pay for the full part of it, which is again under $50,000, but it's not cheap.
Understood.
Which is why cities don't do it annually. It is something that you can take, that you use for about 7 to 10 years because of the amount of money you're going to spend on it. It's something you want to use as a guide. You don't want to spend, $40,000, $50,000 and then put it on the shelf. And so from that, these are the things that'll be able to we'll be able to break down and then use to where if someone comes before you says, hey, I want to bring a retail. There's a gentleman me and the mayor has met with, has purchased some property and says, hey, I want to build a retail center. What can we do? And so based on we want to make sure that one, it's in an area that's allowed for retail and not residential, right? That's the first step. But then what are some of the things that would be impactful to the city? So like he's saying, well, what does the city need? Do we have a list of that? The only thing we have right now, we have a list of businesses that need to be updated. So one of the other tasks that can be brought up from this body is updating the list currently on the website of local Kirby businesses. That could be one of the other like kind of current things. So those are just some thoughts. Hopefully that answered your question.
No,
Yes,
it's good.
sir.
So would it be, so should we come to the planning and zoning, or what was it, the planning
Yes.
and development
Yeah.
meeting too?
So yes, but it wouldn't. So a couple things. One, not as a body. So y'all could kind of say, hey, I'm going to go to this meeting. So it doesn't become taxing on one person. Hey, you go to the next meeting and you can just send out a summary notes as far as where we play. So if y'all want to break that up, or if y'all want to designate one person do it, that's on y'all. As long as if it becomes 3 or more, we would then need to note it. It needs to, just like city council or any other board and commission, quorum.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It needs to be notated if we go as a team.
So also again, part of this body, economic development analysis, we had a conversation with Commissioner Calvert last week actually, and the conversation was around economic analysis. Well, I'll wait till we get to D because that has to do with D. So, does anybody have any questions? Any more questions on C?
So did we want to talk about some economic development strategies now, or set some goals for what we want to develop for economic strategies? And I'll mention a few things that were coming to mind as you were speaking. Depending on what, I guess, the previous EDC had worked on, it would be good to know what they had worked on, right? Number one. Number two, some of those things that they had worked on, I believe, may have included facade or signage improvement programs that were directed by the Economic Development Council or made as suggestions from EDC to the council. And
Will you pull the mic?
oh, sure. Okay. And so, but you got that, right? About the facade and the signage improvement program, Dr. Rowland?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay. And then some of the other things that I was jotting down was, that creates some economic development engagement through improving some of the facades, some of the signage for existing businesses here at Kirby. Some of the other engagement activities could include providing, grand openings for businesses, ribbon cuttings, et cetera, either in coordination with city council members or the EDC. Perhaps having an open house or workshops with commercial real estate brokers that would invite them to participate in what our offerings are here in Kirby. Seeking out some grant funding through ACOG for economic development grants that might be available. That could be something that the Economic Development Committee could look at and perhaps help write a grant if y'all need assistance in writing a grant. And then outreach to commercial facilities that are currently in limbo right now, that are partly developed and haven't completed development, and getting a better understanding as to what the obstacles are for them to open up their business or to break ground on land that they've purchased for commercial purposes, but yet have not been able to do so. An example would be next to the daycare on Old Seguin Road. There's a facility that's been built and is partially built, but no one knows exactly why, or at least I don't know why it hasn't been, the parking lot hasn't been paved. Same kind of scenario with the no off-season building. I understand that it has changed hands and the business has been sold. But there was an amount of time that it was in limbo for various reasons that I think an EDC could help advocate to city council to push that forward, push items like that forward with city council so that maybe we can get that tax revenue into our coffers. And then in terms of the budget, what kind of budget are we talking about in terms of the
So yeah,
budget that we have for economic development?
right now, outside of some of the staff, internal administrative things for EDC, we're all sharing a $10,000 budget, right?
Okay.
Because we're not a taxing entity, so it's kind of like, so yeah, that's the budget.
Okay, so then outside of that, then I guess in the future, we would probably look at establishing a bigger budget, right, to help accommodate some of those facade signage improvement things that I mentioned before. And then there are also facilities that are currently up for sale that have not changed hands for one reason or another. And that would be helpful to know what the obstacles are to developing those facilities. Case in point is the former Dollar General location. That property is up for sale for about $1.1 million and has Mr. Manley as one of the tenants located there, but one of the few tenants that is there. And so what's going on with that property? There's a stigma to the property. We need to understand that and then help that landlord and owner kind of understand what needs to be done to improve that facility so that we can hopefully generate some economic advantages to having them here in Kirby. I would also, let's see, I think in the end, what would be really beneficial for the city of Kirby would be to create an active position as an economic development manager. That would be essential, that when that person could coordinate with permitting and other city activities so that they could promote economic development. So I'd like to see at some point in the future an economic development manager, a leader that would presumably have the TEDC or IEDC designation so that we could let Kirby prosper the way it can. And then you had mentioned something else about MED. I wasn't familiar with that acronym.
Municipal Development District.
Okay, got it. Okay.
That is a supercharged economic 4A and 4B. It allows you all, that entity, which is a city entity, allows them to do bonds and do a number of things as a quasi governmental body underneath the city. But it's an economic development tool.
Okay. Okay. And so then, with that 0.25% tax that we could potentially tap into for some of these items. Those are some of the things that I'd like to see as a committee here adopting those as strategies.
I like it.
Anybody? So if we have, we have some of this. We'll bring it back to you all as we kind of talk through, flush through, and then I can go in more detail in some of the things you spoke to, because I can, but I don't want to hold the meeting up. At the next meeting, I can go more in depth of like, how do you prioritize? You want to make sure we go from an economic development committee to a board or commission first before you would then employ another person, to do that work, because now you having sales tax dollars to actually make sure that the budget is there. So that would be one of the things. As I move to D, discussion on downtown Kirby. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry.
So now, you're gonna have, anybody has any more questions, they should go ahead. Then now we move on to D.
Any more questions about 6C? Okay, we'll go to 6D, downtown Kirby discussions.
If you do have a question, then raise your hand, and then you're going to say their name, and then they can ask a question.
Got it.
Teamwork makes the dream work. Downtown discussion, downtown Kirby. That was part of one of the main things coming in. It's important that the city identify a downtown. Why? The state has funds in as far as grant fund and as far as funding for downtown districts, right? And so we don't qualify because we don't have a downtown district, right? One that's documented, one that has things. They have downtown associations that you're also going to also start to help promote these different things. So those are the businesses that are in that area. Outside of that, under whether it be community development block grants and or just some of the other tools that exist that allow you to make it walkable, your downtown walkable. So like Miss Hinojosa communicated, whether it be downtown facade grants. So that's where this body could say, hey, we want to work to you start off with $5,000 and then do a program to do restorations of signs and make sure we have like whether it be painting of lines, painting of outside buildings to make our areas value, like people want to stop and spend, because the money they spend at those retail locations comes back into the city in reference to sales tax. So it's kind of like this circle process, right? It's important that we have a downtown because also, the question you have to ask yourself when you're trying to, when you're looking at creating a downtown or creating or centering business, you ask yourself, what is the city of Kirby's destination? So if you look at every city, they have like a destination, like a down, like I can go to this place and I go to downtown, Converse or whatever, or I go this place and I go to downtown Houston, or I'm going to go to this city because they have this destination. San Antonio has the Alamo Dome. San Antonio has, what is the center? Alamo Dome. Yeah, the Alamo itself was a destination, but they also have the Alamo Dome, which attracts people to play basketball. The convention center, which people go play basketball. People stay in a hotel. People go to restaurants, people spend money, all that is an attraction. So I'm trying to get everybody to see the big picture of like how all this is connected. How do we center that here in Kirby? What is going to be our location? Is it Friendship Park? Is it such and such and such and such? And so we have that opportunity with the city only being 70 years old to lay that groundwork to say, okay, here are where we're at today. 5 years from now, we have a small convention center. People can rent it out. It can host 1,000 people. We can do this. We can do this, right? So it doesn't have to say happen today, but we have a roadmap on how we're gonna get there. And if we just keep checking the boxes and doing what we're supposed to do, we can get there. And so that's one of the things why I had this on here in reference to why I was trying to center a downtown. So, one of the things when people say, well, where's your downtown? I'm pretty sure you ask everybody in Kirby, they're going to give you a different place. Most communities know where their downtown is, right? And so we want to be able to all be on the same page. So it's an opportunity for us to center ourselves, like where you have an event, you have where you may want to have your Christmas tree lighting, or you may want to have this event. Everyone can come to the center of that area. Now, going back to the conversation I had with Commissioner Calvert and some other his staff and some people from our staff and some businesses, talking about the economic analysis. So this body would be one that would help us or would help the city in developing that through staff, but also through consultants of like, what is the city of Kirby's economic analysis like? Not just demographics, like what is the median household income, how many rooftops and that information, but like, there's consulting companies that can give you an analysis of like, here's the top 50 things that you're missing in your city that people are buying, but they're not buying it in Kirby. Like, so they can tell you based on people's shopping trends. And, when you go to a store and a person asks you your zip code, that's what that goes into a system. And so it reports your sales tax. And so economic analysis is another key indicator that we can use as far as information and data to differentiate the direction in which this body wants to go, which then you all then communicate that to city council. If you don't have any additional questions, I know we have liaison for economic development also here. Just if you don't know, every board or commission has a liaison, which would be your person, your point of contact for information. Like, hey, we're thinking about doing this. What is the take on the city council? And they'll be able to share those things with you. And so your liaison happens to be Mayor Grider. And so if you have a direct point of contact. Ms. Christine Wilson is the city secretary. And so she sets the meetings and sends out the information, and she has all y'all's information as well. And we also have council member, Mayor Pro Tem Sylvia Apodaca here as well. Do you have any more questions for me?
You have any more?
Yeah.
Okay, I did, but I'm sorry to take the meeting longer. We have like 2 potential spots to name for downtown Kirby? I was hoping maybe we can get on that by next meeting for sure.
Sure.
We're all on the same page.
Recommendation.
Yeah.
Does staff have a recommendation?
Yeah, we would have, for that next meeting, we'd have recommendations because we went through the whole visioning. People put tags on, and then y'all could do the same thing. But we can give you what are the 2 things that came up, and then y'all can go from there.
Okay. Is it safe now to propose a time to meet next month?
Yeah.
I'd like to do that and get it on the calendar early. How does late in July look for everybody? Just throw out some dates. I'm pretty flexible. I'm looking at one thing. Just so I make sure I don't mess myself up. Potentially Monday or Tuesday, like the last week in July, maybe 28th, 29th.
I'll be out of town.
Okay, no worries. The week before, the 21st, 20. I mean, that's not a month. That's only 4 weeks. We could go in August, as well.
The 21st will work. That'll work for me.
Does that seem okay? By then, they
Yes.
should have that together. So, can we agree on the 21st for our next meeting?
So I will, right now, tentatively, it's, yes. So I'll confirm that, tonight. I'll send out, once I look at my other calendar.
The 21st.
And I'm gonna suggest 6:30 based on.
Yes,
Today.
totally agreed.
I blame the rain, but no,
Yes.
that makes
agreed.
sense.
So where's planning and zoning?
I think it's okay, so it is Tuesday, July.
Okay, so it'll be open. Yep.
Community of standards is the fourth Tuesday, so it's 27th.
So the third Monday.
Ms. Wilson, could you send me an email with that? On planning and zoning?
Yes.
So July 21st is what we're saying at 6:30. Is that what I heard?
Yes. And we'll get confirmation most likely tomorrow. Okay. I believe you had some comments or something as well.
Oh, no, you asked the same question I had.
Okay. Is there any other questions, concerns before we get ready to adjourn? And I know we got to do it the proper way, just making sure. And forgive me, do I just say it's 6:59 at this time, we will conclude the meeting? Is that how it goes?
Number 7.
Oh,
So,
skipped over that.
item 7
I'm sorry.
is when you guys can request certain things to be put on the.
Item 7, we're requesting members for items to be placed on future economic and development committee's agenda and announcements on city event community interest.
So then you'll say their names, let them say if they want something, if they don't, you say the person's name.
Okay.
And then you typically go last if you want something on there.
So is there something that's wanted by, I'm sorry, I'm just making
No,
sure.
it's okay. So you'll say, item 7, request by committee members for items to be placed on future economic and development committee agendas and announcements on city events / community interests. Committee member Manley.
Committee member Manley. Okay,
Committee member Hinojosa.
committee member Hinojosa.
So I understand that a comprehensive plan is under works, but for the benefit of my fellow committee members, I think it would be helpful to review the existing comprehensive plan. And I would like to have that brought for us for a review and understanding of that.
Done, you say, and that's all.
Okay, that's not all. But I'd also, we're going to be reviewing, I guess, meeting minutes at the next one. And I'm sure that Christine or Dr. Rowland wasn't able to write down everything that I had suggested being a strategy. So what I'd like to do is hone in on the strategies at our next committee meeting. And that way you would have something maybe perhaps in writing, something that could be adoptable or reviewed further in terms of development strategies.
Okay.
That's all.
And for myself, I agree we should wait till the next one, hopefully to review the items. So I'd say no for now. Okay,
And then you'll say meeting adjourned at
7. Okay. Okay, motion to adjourn meeting at 7:01.
Very good. Thank you.
Next one.
Yay, I'm so happy. Finally.